Ah, no, what's going on, everybody? Mike here, obviously, because it's me. And I did a Blu-ray collection video the other day, and you guys seemed to like it a lot, and I appreciate that. And so I thought, well, you know what, I have like double the amount in DVDs. So I brought all my DVDs off the shelves, put them on this table, and we're going to talk about them. This video might be really long, so I may end up putting it into two parts, but we'll see. Before I get started, gotta have some Pure Leaf tea. That's the stuff. Okay, let's jump into my DVD collection. First up, right off the bat, we have How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Matthew McConaughey, Kate Hudson. Yeah, it's got that one moment where the guy's like, hey ladies, go frost yourselves. And then the lady on the street's like, hey buddy, frost this. That's all I remember from this movie. I think they each have 10 days to make one like the other one or lose the other one. And well, comedy is supposed to start ensuing from there. Moving on, guys, we have the movie The Purge: Anarchy. Purge: Anarchy is the follow-up to The Purge. It's the only Purge movie I have in my collection. It's definitely the best. I like that John Grillo really takes on like that Punisher vibe to him, and for a long time people were like, he should be the Punisher, and then John Bernthal was the Punisher, and we get why. But it would have been cool to see like a Punisher versus Punisher type theme with those two guys. Next up, guys, we have Will Smith, I, Robot. I don't know why they always feel the need to put the actor's name on the front, other than, like, that's Will Smith. I mean, if you didn't have his face, maybe I could see that, but it's definitely Will Smith. Yeah, this is a fun movie. You know, this is on widescreen. I'm not a huge fan of widescreen, because I feel like you lose some of the picture. I'm more of a full-screen guy. But yeah, I, Robot, Will Smith. Next up, guys, we have The Bourne Identity. The Bourne Identity is the first in the Bourne series, kicked off the franchise. This movie's a lot of fun. It's definitely the Bourne I've watched the most. I feel like it's the most complete Bourne. Supremacy is right in the middle, and I feel like it's very open-ended on either end. Ultimatum, they kind of close it, kind of not, with him swimming away. So yeah, I really like The Bourne Identity. You could watch this as a complete movie and be like, okay, I have questions, but that was a good complete movie. So, The Bourne Identity. Moving on, guys, you have The Conjuring. Now, back in 2013 when this came out, this defined, in my opinion, horror movies going forward. This really changed the game. It wasn't all Freddy Krueger hands and stabby. You know, it really changed the game. I think a lot of movies have tried to base themselves off this. Even their own franchise has never lived up to the original Conjuring movie. And so that cover is awesome. It's got that rope coming down from the tree. It's a cool movie. Yeah, so I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to do this a lot with my hair. I haven't had the ability to get a haircut in like 2 months. Really a month. And it's driving me crazy. But you got to think, I haven't had a haircut for 2 months because 2 months ago I would have gotten my haircut and I should have gotten it again about a month ago. I couldn't because nothing's open. So my hair is, I'm going to do that a lot. That's going to happen. Moving on, guys, we have the movie The Notebook. Yeah, you know, Nicholas Sparks, yeah, The Notebook. It's unrealistic. I don't know. Not a fan. It's okay. Not a huge fan, to be honest with you. Alright. Moving on, guys, we have Saw 4. Saw 4 might be the most interesting of the Saw movies. I really like the Saw franchise. I have them all. They're all in here. We'll talk about all of them, so I'll just talk about part 4 for now. And what I want to say about 4 is that this is definitely the most interesting of the franchise, where the whole movie takes place behind the scenes of part 3. So like the very beginning and the very end where he says, I'd like to play a game, that's it. That's all. That's all you get for new content. Everything else was before part 4 even happened. And that's, I don't know, it's just cool. When I first saw that, I was like, man, I can't wait for 5. And 5 didn't disappoint. That's probably my favorite. Okay, guys, moving on, we have the movie The Strangers. Strangers is scary because it's a home invasion movie, and it feels like it could happen. You know, I mean, there's nothing supernatural about this. It's just two people in a cabin, and these people come knocking on their door one night, and they're like, yeah, we're going to kill you guys, and the reason we're going to do it is because you were home. So that's a thing. Okay, guys, next up we have UHF. Weird Al. This movie bombed when it came out. No one liked it. I'm a huge Weird Al fan, but this movie is just so great. I don't know. I really like this movie. It's got him as Gandhi and him as Rambo. I don't know. Weird Al, man. He's funny. Okay, the next movie I'm going to admit to you guys, I've never actually watched it all the way through. I bought it as kind of a gag gift for my wife before she was even my girlfriend. She was just a friend, and I bought her this Elizabeth. Her name's Elizabeth, so I bought her a movie, Elizabethtown. And we sat down to watch it one day, and oh, it was bad. it was really bad. But I can't get rid of it because I feel like it's got some nostalgia to it, so this DVD copy of Elizabethtown will probably be in my collection forever. Even when I don't have DVDs anymore, I'll still have that. It's just, yeah, it's important. Okay, guys, next up, this movie I feel like flies under the radar for a lot of people. I ask people if they've seen this movie, and they're like, I don't know what that is. And I'm like, it's got Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis. And they're like, before they were famous? And I'm like, no, after Iron Man and after The Hangover. And it's Due Date. This movie's hilarious. Robert Downey Jr. is trying to get home to his wife. Zach Galifianakis just keeps messing up his plans. Jamie Foxx is in this movie. It's hilarious. There's a trip to the Grand Canyon involved. Check it out. Next up, guys, we have G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra. G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra was the first of the 2 G.I. Joe movies, and the G.I. Joe 2 killed the franchise. I liked the first one. I wasn't a huge fan of the mech suits throughout, but I thought it was pretty cool. I still enjoy it to this day. I watched it a few months ago. I enjoyed it. But yeah, the part 2 with The Rock and Bruce Willis just took away all the cool, fun elements from this movie that I liked. And the president being replaced at the end of this movie was awesome, and they just ruined that plot too. So, I don't know. I have nothing good to say about part 2. Okay, guys, next up we have Tom Cruise, Dakota Fanning, War of the Worlds. Ooh, this movie's good. This movie's fun. There's a lot of heart in it. There's a lot of moments for your edge of your seat. I like that about this movie. So yeah, War of the Worlds. Check it out. Okay, guys, next up, 4 of the Harry Potter movies, the last 4, and that is The Order of the Phoenix, The Half-Blood Prince, The Deathly Hallows Part 1, and The Deathly Hallows Part 2. A big Harry Potter fan. Books are great. The movies are great. Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2, that could have been one movie. Let's be honest, Hollywood. You were just getting another movie's money out of us, and the Fantastic Beasts movies have been awful thus far, so yeah. They should have just ended at 7 and made that one movie, for the record. Alright, guys, next up is a movie that Adam Sandler recently did, a movie called Uncut Gems. We talked about it in my Blu-ray collection video, and it got a lot of mixed reactions from people. People didn't like it because it was just out of his wheelhouse. And I feel like this movie did the same thing for Jim Carrey, and that is The Number 23. It's nothing like you've seen Jim Carrey ever do before. He's out of his mind, but not in the crazy, funny, out of his mind way. I mean, he's like murdering people. This movie's wild. If you haven't seen Number 23, check it out. I love this cover too. This one's got just his face tattooed in the Number 23, but I love this cover because it's like the book throughout the movie, Number 23. It's worth it. You should check it out. Next up, guys, this movie is probably my top 10 movies of all time, and it is Training Day with Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke. I love this movie, Dirty Cop movie. I love the ending with Denzel, that speech in the street. I love when people take that speech and they voice over to other things going on. It's just fun. We play basketball in Pelican Bay. You get the idea. Okay, this movie, I haven't watched wrestling in like 6 years. But back in the day, man, I was a huge wrestling fan. And when this movie came out on DVD, I had to have it, and that is The Marine. And I think they've made like 6 after that. I haven't watched any of them. But The Marine with John Cena, I don't know. I loved it when I was a kid. I haven't watched this probably 6 to 8 years. But yeah, it sits on my shelf. Nostalgia, I guess. Next up, guys, we have Face Off with Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. I'm going to take my face off. What's not to love about that? They switch faces, even though their bodies don't match. Hey, it works. And it's just a good time. You get to see Nick Cage be the bad guy and the good guy. And you get to see John Travolta be the good guy and the bad guy. I like this movie a lot. It's fun. Silly, but fun. Next up, guys, action movie. And this movie is just, it is Ninja Assassin. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I mean, if you like kung fu, ninja, slice and dice movies, I guess we'll call them. That's a category, right? Ninja Assassin fits the bill 100%. I watch this probably once a year. It's a good time. When I want just pure action, not a lot of story, this is the way to go. But it does have a good storyline too, so that's pretty cool. Next up, guys, is the movie The Twilight Saga Eclipse. I've seen this. I've seen all the Twilight movies once. You know, it's Twilight. Robert Pattinson, he's the new Batman. And in Batman we trust. So, okay, next up is the second movie in the Bourne franchise, The Bourne Supremacy. And I remember being so hyped to see this when it first came out, and we weren't allowed to go to the movie theater growing up. So I had to wait for this thing, and when it came out on DVD, I bought it, and yeah, The Bourne Supremacy. I dropped that. I don't really know what else to say about it. It's a continuation of Jason Bourne's story. You know, they don't answer everything yet again. Next up, guys, this movie I own because my brother was like, hey, this is the greatest movie of all time. And Dwight from The Office has also said it's his favorite movie of all time, and that is The Crow. I've seen it once. It's okay. You know, it's a lot, to me, I classify it a lot like The Warriors. It's very dated. It feels very dated. It's okay. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like if they remade it now, it would be better. Probably. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this one. And I don't care, because this is how I feel. This is my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I don't like any of the other ones, and that is A Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake with Jackie Earle Haley. Yeah, he's better. He's the best Freddy Krueger. There, I said it. And yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I think it's got great actors and actresses in it. I think it's better than the original with Johnny Depp. I just think overall, this is the Freddy Krueger movie for me. Moving on, we have the movie Faster. Before Rock was in the Fast and Furious movie, he was in Faster. And this movie came out right after he was done with his Disney contract. I think Disney locked him in for a couple of years, and he was stuck doing these movies where it was like not The Rock, right? He was the Tooth Fairy, stuff like that. This was the first movie out the gate, and he was like, no, guys, I promise you, I am a badass. Just let me show you. And Faster shows us that. It's fun. From the opening scene when he leaves his cell till he gets to an office building, it's pretty intense. I really like this movie. Okay, The Conjuring 2. Wow, we came across 2 back-to-back sequels. That was kind of quick. Alright, The Conjuring 2 is a step down, I think, from the first one, for sure. But it's still pretty scary. It's a good time. There's still got some really good jump scares in it. I'm not a huge fan of the Crooked Man angle. They were talking about doing a Crooked Man movie for a while. I'm glad they went away from that. I'm waiting for Conjuring 3. It's supposed to be this year. I don't know when anything's coming out anymore. I've just given up on the whole when things are coming out. Okay, next up, guys, it's a Quentin Tarantino movie, and it is Kill Bill Volume 1. Now, I've only seen this one time. I enjoyed what I saw. It was fun. Kill Bill 1 and 2, you know, they're Tarantino movies. I don't have anything bad to say about Tarantino. They're okay. And now, another horror movie, and that is Dead Silence. Dead Silence, you scream, you die. Donnie Wahlberg is one of the main actors in this movie. He's a detective. And yes, if you scream, she can kill you. So, Dead Silence. Okay. Alright, guys, let's jump into the next one, and that is Knockaround Guys. Knockaround Guys is a fun movie. Yeah, Seth Green has to take a bag of money from one mob boss to another mob boss, and he loses it along the way in this little hick town. And so Vin Diesel and Barry Pepper have to come in and try and find it. And it is a great movie. I love this movie. When Vin Diesel's in that bar and he has to teach that guy a lesson, best part of the movie. For sure. Alright, next up, guys, we have 30 Days of Night. This is really cool. It's a vampire movie, and it is about, there's a place in Alaska where there's 30 days of nothing but night, and that's where vampires can flourish. So, 30 Days of Night. It's cool. Okay, next up, guys, we have Old Boy. This is a remake, the American remake of Old Boy with Josh Brolin, Elizabeth Olsen. He gets put in a cell at the beginning of the movie, spends many years in this little cell with somebody feeding him just nasty food, and he has to come out and kill everybody. And, this movie's brutal, and it's got a really weird, messed up ending. That's all I'll say. If you want to watch it, watch it. There it is. The Time Machine. I saw this movie for the first time when I went to Washington, D.C. back in 2002, 2003. I was with my dad and my little sister, and I saw it on TV. And I was like, wow, that's a movie. And then I saw it as an adult, and I'm like, that's a movie. That's the best way I can put that. Okay, another Quentin Tarantino. We have Inglourious Bastards. This movie's fun. I've seen it several times. When Brad Pitt cuts that swastika into Christoph Waltz's head at the end, that's just cool. This movie's fun. It's a different take on history. I like it. It's a cool time. This one, I think I've seen this maybe once, and that is The Maze Runner. I can't tell you much about it because I don't know much about it. My wife's a huge fan of the book, and so I bought her the movies, and here they sit. Yeah. Shanghai Nights. Shanghai Nights is a, well, this says it's great fun for the whole family, and I would agree with that statement. It's no Rush Hour, but Shanghai Nights. Okay, next up you have Old School. You got Owen Wilson in this. Not Owen Wilson, Luke Wilson. You've got Will Ferrell and Vince Vaughn. This movie is fun. They take a house near a campus, turn it into a bachelor pad, and just chaos ensues. And it's got so many great moments. Will Ferrell going streaking, Snoop Dogg showing up. It's a good time. All right, next up, guys, we're going to talk about The Lord of the Rings. This is the 3-pack extended editions: Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King. This is the only way I will watch The Lord of the Rings. Somebody once told me that they don't hold up on Blu-ray very well, so I took that to heart, and I was like, well, then I never want to watch them on Blu-ray because these are perfect. These are awesome, though. I mean, they really are. There's so much detail. I'll just open one of them here. Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite, so I'm just going to open that one. See how much detail there is, so many discs. There's a lot here. There's really a lot. I think each movie is on 2 different discs, so there's so much content for this thing, so... and the artwork is really pretty. I like this movie a lot. Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite. The next two, I like the battle scene in Two Towers, and the battle throughout in Return of the King. They're all great, but yeah, I love these movies. Lord of the Rings movies, I revisit them at least once a year, watch them all the way through. The Hobbit movies were a little bit of a step down. We'll talk about those later. I got those in here somewhere, but yeah, the extended editions are awesome. You don't really need the extended editions on 1 and 2, but on 3, Saruman dies in the extended version only. So if you've never seen the extended version, you've never seen Saruman die. But if you have seen it, then you've seen him die, and it's important that he dies because he's evil. Lord of the Rings. All right, moving on, guys. We have 4 brothers. Mark Wahlberg, and Tyrese, and then a couple people that I don't know. 4 brothers. Man, this movie is cool. It's sad in parts too, right? I mean, their mom dies, so they go to get vengeance for her, and then their brother dies, and there's only 3 brothers by the end of this movie. But they couldn't tell you that, so they had to call it 4 brothers. It's cool. I like this movie. Next up, guys, we have a comedy, Fired Up. This came out in 2012. I remember going to the theater to see this movie, and it's fun. It's 2 guys who are football jocks, and they don't want to go to football camp. They want to go to cheerleading camp because that's where all the girls are. And so they follow the girls to cheerleader camp. And a lot of funny stuff happens in this movie. I don't know. I enjoy it. Yeah. Okay. We have Trespass. Nicolas Cage, Nicole Kidman, Trespass. I've never actually watched this all the way through. I've seen the beginning of this movie. These people come in to rob him, and that's as much as I've seen. Never actually watched it all the way through. Maybe I should do that. Next up, guys, we have another Steven Seagal movie, and that is Hard to Kill. I say another, but I don't know if we've... Have we talked about Steven Seagal yet? I don't even know. Okay, Hard to Kill. This is one of his best, I want to say. This, Glimmerman, and Fire Down Below are probably my favorite. And Under Siege 2 are my favorites. But yeah, Hard to Kill. I mean, he gets killed in the beginning of the movie, or so they think, and turns out that he's hard to kill, and he comes back and kills them all. Mostly them all. It's a good movie. It's fun. Next up we have Crank 2, High Voltage. But actually, inside of it, we have Crank and Crank 2. I was cleaning out my DVDs one day, and I couldn't find the DVD for Crank 1. And I was like, hey, E, have you seen Crank 1? She's like, I don't even know what that is. So, of course, I haven't seen it. So I was like, oh, well, Crank case right in the trash, whatever. A couple months later, I was looking at these DVDs. I opened this for whatever reason, and I found Crank 1. So for some reason, in a DVD case, it makes me think maybe I loaned it to somebody at some point in this instead of the case, which I don't know why I would have done that either. So yeah, I have Crank and Crank 2, but they're both in the Crank 2 case. So, yeah. That. Alright guys, next up we have Juno. Its soundtrack is the weirdest soundtrack I've ever heard, and I'm going to move on from there. Next up we have The Bourne Legacy. Now this is the 4th Bourne movie made, and it has nothing to do with Jason Bourne. It's got Jeremy Renner in it, and I like Jeremy Renner in action movies, but this movie was... They really went for something they shouldn't have. I mean, they went like super soldier serum, essentially, is what they're saying that the people in the Assassin's Club took. I don't know. It's a movie. That's all I'll say. Next up we have The Other Guys. This movie's hilarious. I think it's on Netflix right now because I've seen it a few times on Netflix since it's been on. Check this movie out. This is hilarious. Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg. It starts with The Rock and Sam Jackson as well. Something happens to them. I can't really tell you what, but this movie's so funny. Michael Keaton's in this too. If you haven't seen the other guys, you should definitely check it out. It's a good time. Next up, guys, we have Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street. Leo is on fire and should have won, there we go, a Oscar for this movie. I feel like they gave it to him the next year for The Revenant, which was a good movie, but they should have given it to him for this. I feel like they felt like they snubbed him, and so they gave it to him for Revenant, but he should have won for this movie. I don't know what beat him that year. It wasn't better. I do not care what they say it was. It wasn't better than The Wolf of Wall Street. So, yeah, he deserved Best Actor for this. I love this movie. Margot Robbie, Jonah Hill. Wolf of Wall Street is fantastic. Alright, the movie that kicked them all off, and that's not necessarily a good thing, and that is Twilight. Yeah, it's, yeah, you got our Batman right there, coming up. They halted production on that the other day, which we kind of all knew was going to happen, but, yeah. Twilight. Alright, next up, this movie kicked them all off too, back to back, and here it is, Saw. This had Danny Glover in it, and, you know, I feel like they started with some firepower, and then they realized we don't need firepower because the movie itself is going to be enough. The storyline, and it was. This movie didn't need big-name actors, and they were able to use whatever budget they had, which wasn't a lot, on set pieces, traps, and I love that about these movies. The Saw movies are awesome, but this one, you can't just pick up Saw 2 and watch it. You have to start in order and watch it through. It's just a thing. Next up, guys, we have John Carpenter's original Halloween. Man, this movie is cool. It's one of those originals that I love. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the original Jasons. I'm not a huge fan of the original Nightmare on Elm Streets. But the original Halloween, whew, that's good. And that one that we talked about in my Blu-ray review with, or collection, I guess, with the follow-up was good. This is just a good movie. It's a good time. Definitely have to watch it in October. It's a thing. You have to. Next up, guys, we have Dodgeball. Grab life by the ball. This movie is so good. This is another quotable movie. It's a lot like Anchorman or Office Space, where you could just constantly quote it. He said, "Nobody makes me bleed my own blood." Love this movie. Okay, next up, guys, is another horror movie, and that is 14. I'm getting a pattern here where it's like horror movie comedy. And I don't know. It's just what I love. Next up, we have 1408. Yeah, it's Sam Jackson, John Cusack. John Cusack is he's a writer who's like, I don't believe in really scary things. I write about them, but they're not real. There's no real haunted place. And Sam Jackson's like, there is. Come stay in our hotel. And he stays in the hotel. I think he lives. I'm not really sure. It's been a while since I've seen it. Next up we have We're the Millers. If you haven't seen We're the Millers, it's worth it. It's got Jennifer Aniston, Jason Sudeikis, this funny dude here, and her. I don't know. I remember the line, stay out of Hot Topic. It's so good. Yeah, he just goes to pick up a smidge of pot in Mexico, and the smidge turns into an entire RV full, and they have to get it home, and it's funny. Alright, next up, guys, we have I Now Pronounce You, Chuck and Larry. My friend Dan bought me this. Dan, I appreciate that. I loaned him a burned copy of it that I had when I was in 7th grade, and he lost it or destroyed it or something happened to it. And so he gave me a brand new copy of it, which was pretty cool. Pretty cool move, not gonna lie. So I Now Pronounce You, Chuck and Larry. Awesome. Next up, another comedy is Tropic Thunder. Yeah, it's weird in a movie with Ben Stiller, Jack Black, and Robert Downey Jr. Playing a black man. The funniest character is actually Tom Cruise, and I didn't even realize Tom Cruise was in this till towards the end. And when he did that dance for Get Back, and I was like, oh, that's Tom Cruise, and it's absolutely hilarious. Okay, another comedy. We have Role Models. Role Models, Paul Rudd's in this, the guy that plays McLovin, and Sean William Scott. It's a good time. When I bought this, it came with a Sturdy Wings shirt, and I thought it was really cool, and people would notice, and they'd be like, hey, Sturdy Wings, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm cool, and I realized later, I'm not cool, and they were probably making fun of me. Next up, we have Evil Dead. Evil Dead is the remake to the original Evil Dead movie, and honestly, another thing that's probably going to make people upset, and oh well, it's better than the originals. This Evil Dead remake is better. I think for a lot of things like, you know, like the Jason movies, like the Freddy Krueger movies, like the Evil Dead movies, if you watched them when you were a kid in that time, then it probably impacted you more, or even if you just were in that time. But now we just have updated graphics, we have updated storylines. I feel like it's better in every single way, and that when the theme rises at the end, it's awesome. So yeah, I'm a bigger fan of that version of the Evil Dead movie. Next up, guys, Push. Now, this movie should have had a sequel. It was really great. I don't know if it didn't because Chris Evans became Captain America, or Dakota Fanning just dropped off the face of the earth. I don't know what happened, but Push should have had a sequel. I really like this movie. It's like the movie The Losers, where it definitely needed a sequel, definitely deserved a sequel, and I don't know what happened, but Push. It's a really cool superhero-esque movie. Next up, guys, we have Hot Tub Time Machine. The second one was garbage, but the first one was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot. It's got Craig Robinson. He's Daryl from The Office. John Cusack's in it. It's a fun time. You know, a bunch of guys, they go into a hot tub. Some Russian energy drink gets spilled into the control panel. It turns into a time machine and zaps them back to the 80s. And they have to relive some big moments in their lives that made a lot of decisions in their lives. So, Hot Tub Time Machine. Totally worth it. Okay, next up, guys, we have Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I've seen this once, twice maybe. I don't know. My favorite Matthew Broderick movie is still Godzilla 1998. But, yeah, it says the Bueller edition. I'm going to go ahead and doubt that there's anything extra on here, and they just wanted people to think that it was something else. But, yeah, Bueller. Let's see what we have here. Season of the Witch, Nicolas Cage, Ron Perlman, Season of the Witch. I actually like this movie a lot. It came out, I think, when Game of Thrones was really big, and so it made it, you know, appealing at the time because everyone was into that sort of thing. And you think you're going after a witch the whole time, and there's a cool twist toward the end that I really like. It's fun. You know, it's not great. Acting's not great, but hey, it's fun. All right, next up, guys. Speaking of acting that's not great, but the movie's a lot of fun. Point Break. They tried remaking this recently and it didn't work. It's one of those where the remake was actually worse. So it can happen either way, for the record, in my mind. But yeah, it says 100% pure adrenaline, and it is. It's just awesome. Gary Busey's in this movie too. You know, you got the dead presidents robbing people. It's just cool. I really enjoy Point Break. It's a good time. Next up, guys, another comedy, and that is The Hangover. The Hangover is the only Hangover movie that's any good. This movie's hilarious. I don't have other words for these comedies that I'm pulling out. I keep saying they're hilarious, but they are. The Hangover's great for many reasons. It was a different way to do a movie. I like that they didn't remember and they kind of had to go throughout the entire movie figuring things out. Where 2 and 3 fell apart, where they just copied the format of the first two. 3 tried to do a little differently. 2 was definitely just a complete ripoff. But part 1, hilarious, great. Definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it. The Hangover. Okay, guys. Next up, Nicolas Cage, Con Air. It's got Cyrus the Damn Virus in it. I love it. It's great. John Cusack again is in it. I've come across John Cusack a few times now. But John Cusack's in this movie as well. You know, it's a way to transport prisoners. Instead of doing it by a bus, they do it by a plane because that makes more sense financially. Super prisoners. What could go wrong? Everything. Everything could go wrong. But thankfully, Nicolas Cage is on board because he's a prisoner who was sent to jail for defending his wife. So he's a good guy. True story. Alright, next up, guys, we have the movie Arrival. If you haven't seen Arrival, you need to see Arrival. It's a thinking movie. It's not necessarily horror, action. It's a sci-fi, but it's a thinking movie. It really is. It's a very slow burn type of movie as well. But man, the reveal in this movie, what they do in this movie, it's pretty cool. I don't want to give any of it away, so I'll just tell you, if you haven't seen Arrival, check it out. So it's an interesting take on the sci-fi genre as a whole. Next up, we got to go old school, and that is The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. Don Knotts. I saw this when I was a kid, and I loved it. I saw it one day, and I think FYE had it, and I was like, oh, well, I got to get it. I've seen it once since then. It's silly fun, you know. It's Don Knotts spending a night in a haunted house, and he actually solves a murder while he's at it. So, yeah, it's fun. Next up, guys, we have Hitch. You know, I watched this a lot when I was a teenager, and I thought, man, this is one of the greatest movies ever made. And I rewatched it recently, and it's just not as good as I remember. The jokes just they fall flat. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've experienced them. It's one of those situations where you only get to experience a movie for the first time once, and I wish I had experienced this movie. I wish I could just experience this for the first time again, because I feel like the first time I saw it, I was like, oh my god. And now I'm just like, yeah, okay, yeah, he's got back hair. Oh, they pulled the back hair off of him. Itch. Alright, next up, guys, man, talking about defining genres, and that is the Blair Witch Project. Any shaky cam movie you may like, I don't care if it's the paranormal series or anything shaky cam, you have this movie to thank for it. The Blair Witch kicked this off. People actually thought something happened to these kids while they were filming this. The stories behind this are crazy. I really love it, but I'll always remember this movie as the night my sister made wheat spaghetti chili. My sister Mary at my sister Alexandra's house. We were at her house, and my sister Mary made wheat spaghetti chili, and she burned the shit out of it. So I always have that taste in my mouth, because I ate it. Of course I ate it. Yeah, I always have that weird wheat spaghetti taste in my mouth when I think about the Blair Witch Project. I don't know. My brain works that way. Okay, next up, guys, we have Hitman double feature, because it's Hitman and Hitman Agent 47. I bought it for the original. The original Hitman is just awesome. Hitman Agent 47 is not. I mean, it's. I think I may have started it once and like, okay, this is why it's a bad movie. Okay, but Hitman the original was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot. Okay, guys, next up we have Saw number 6. The game has come full circle. They were running out of ideas when it came to Saw 6. I have them all. I enjoyed the movie. 7 is definitely the low point. Jigsaw was actually pretty cool, but 6 was like, okay, you're running out of ideas. We're noticing. You gotta wrap this series up. They did one more movie to wrap it all up, but this should have been the last one, in my opinion. Okay, guys, next up we have another comedy, Starsky and Hutch. Yeah, it's a remake of the old series. It's got Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller. They did a lot of movies together, and honestly, anytime they get together, these guys, it's gold. Vince Vaughn's in this too. It's another great, funny movie, and Snoop Dogg. And now I'm realizing that they were all in Old School together. But not Owen Wilson. Well, Ben Stiller wasn't in Old School. Okay, I take that back completely. This has nothing to do with that movie. Anyway, Starsky and Hutch. It's a good time. Next up, guys, we have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, 2, and 3, and TMNT. They didn't put East meets West in here because that's awful. But yeah, before the Power Ranger people owned the Turtles, before Michael Bay got his grubby hands on the Turtle movies, we had excellence. And that is Turtles 1. Turtles 2, and I'm going to throw Turtles 3 in there. I like that movie. It's cheesy, but I like it. Man, part 1 and 2, though, if a movie defines my childhood, I gotta say it's Turtles or Turtles 2. It's one of those two movies. I loved the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles growing up so much. It was like, yeah, Batman, Spider-Man, they were awesome, but when it came down to it, all 4 Turtles were better than anybody. It's just how I felt. I still love the Turtles. My son loves the Turtles now. That's pretty cool. Next up, guys, we have Employee of the Month. Dane Cook movie. I think my favorite Dane Cook movie is Good Luck Chuck, but Employee of the Month is pretty great. He's trying to become Employee of the Month to impress Jessica Simpson, and she has huge ears in this movie. And Dax Shepard's in that, and it's a lot of fun. He's also trying to become Employee of the Month to impress Jessica Simpson. Spoiler alert, I'm not impressed by Jessica Simpson. That's just how I feel. Okay, another horror movie, The Woman in Black. This movie, I don't know, something about this movie terrifies me. Every time I watch this movie, I'm like, I don't want to turn the lights off for a while. That's what it does to me. Which I think means the movie does its job. Now, there was A Woman in Black 2, Guardian Angel or Angel of Hell or something like that, and it was awful. But The Woman in Black, Daniel Radcliffe's in it. I think it's the only Harry Potter movie, only non-Harry Potter movie Daniel Radcliffe's done that I like. And yeah, it's scary. They do a good job with the scares in that movie. The whole Woman in Black idea is just kind of terrifying. Her face is terrifying. I enjoy that movie. Next up, guys, we have Fracture. If you haven't seen Fracture, you need to. Anthony Hopkins, Ryan Gosling. He killed his wife, or tried to. He's the lawyer, trying to put him away. and he pretty much gets away with it. It's awesome. I won't give it away, but it's worth it. Okay, next up we have I Am Legend with Will Smith. Yeah, I mean, this is probably my least favorite Will Smith movie, to be completely honest. Although I never saw the football movie where he had a concussion, or he was the doctor trying to stop people from getting concussions. But otherwise, I've seen pretty much everything he's ever done. It's probably my least favorite. I don't know, something about it. It's cool. It's zombies. If you're in the mood for a zombie movie, it's a zombie movie. Next up, guys, we have Dirty Dancing. Now, I bought this for my wife because she was like, hey, I love this movie. And I was like, okay, cool, we'll check it out. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to say something unpopular, but this is definitely a 40-year-old man, and this is definitely a 17-year-old, and we're just all supposed to be cool with it. Alright, next up, guys, we have the remake, RoboCop. RoboCop, the originals are fine. I like this. It's got Michael Keaton in it. I think this brought Michael Keaton back to, just back, right? If Birdman didn't do it, it's definitely RoboCop. I don't know. It's not a great movie, but Michael Keaton's performance in it is really fun. And a fun fact about this movie, it's the first movie I ever saw with my wife. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, it is. Went with a group of friends to meet up and see RoboCop. And she was with my friend group. And so, yeah, it's the first movie we ever saw in theaters together. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Okay, moving on. We have Krampus. Yeah, he's Krampus, you know? He's this evil dude. When I saw this in the theater, I was like, man, that is a cool Christmas horror movie. And on rewatch, I'm like, okay, it's a movie. It's not very good. I realize now. The little creepy toys that come alive, yeah. It's weird, but I still watch it every once in a while. It's alright. Next up, guys, we have The Boondock Saints. The Boondock Saints is cool because it's an action movie like no other. I mean, they're two hitmen, and then a hitman comes to kill them. It's cool. I love it. William Dafoe's in this as well. He's not the hitman that goes after them. He's the cop, actually, trying to stop them or catch them throughout. It's cool. Alright, guys, next up we have What Happens in Vegas. What Happens in Vegas, I have a story about this movie. It came out right around the same time that The Strangers came out. And went and saw The Strangers with my now brother-in-law, but when we got there, they're like, hey, he's not 17, he can't see an R-rated movie. And I was like, huh. Alright, we'll take 2 tickets to What Happens in Vegas. And then we went to The Strangers and saw that instead. But What Happens in Vegas is still a fun movie. Ashton Kutcher's in it. Strangers is better. Next up we have The A-Team. Yeah, this is another movie that should have gotten a sequel. I don't know why it didn't get a sequel. The A-Team is a fun movie. It's got Liam Neeson in it right in his prime. It had Bradley Cooper in his prime. Yeah, if you haven't seen The A-Team, a remake of the TV show, you definitely should, because this is a good time. It says the best action movie, and they put a huge A there, film in years. And not sure when this was made, but 2010? Yeah, okay, I'll give it that. Yeah, best action film in years, probably. Next up we have The Green Hornet. Seth Rogen, another TV show to movie remake. Yeah, it's fun. I like there's a scene where he's got just a ton of cars because he's just filthy rich because of his dad. And it's good. Yeah, I like it. It's making of a superhero movie. Never did another one. And I think Seth Rogen was like, I never want to be that skinny again, so I don't think I'm going to make another movie like that. But he did. He trimmed down for it. So, yeah. Okay, next up, guys, we have a movie before The Conjuring. There was Annabelle. The original Annabelle's not good. We talked about Annabelle Creation with my Blu-ray collection last week, and it was definitely the better of the two. Recently, they made Annabelle Comes Home. I haven't even thought about buying that. It's not a good movie at all. But yeah, Annabelle, the original. Okay, next up we have The Rock. If you haven't seen The Rock, you should. It's got Nicolas Cage, it's got Sean Connery, and it's got Ed Harris. Ed Harris plays a military commander who decides, you know what, I'm going to use these terrorist missiles to get a couple $1 million and go retire. And Nick Cage is a scientist. But it's fun. Michael Bay directs it, and it's actually a really good Michael Bay directed movie. It's probably his best. So I recommend it. Next up, guys, we have Big Fat Liar. Man, Amanda Bynes, Frankie Muniz, Paul Giamatti, that's who you have in this movie. And it's a fun family movie. It's cute. You know, I haven't seen this in years. My wife's a bigger fan of it than I am, but you know, we just probably won't get 2 of these 3 actors in a movie ever again. So, something to think about. Next up we have, in my opinion, it's my favorite Saw. Well, it's either this or the second movie, but it is Saw 5, and there's something sticky on this. This doesn't want to come out of this case. I don't know why my case is sticky. That's what we're going to talk about. No, Saw 5 is really cool. It's got the pendulum scene to open, and yeah, this glass box is really cool too. That's a fun moment. So, Saw 5. Not much more you can say about the Saw series at this point. This movie is a really cool superhero movie not a lot of people have seen, and it's called All Superheroes Must Die. It's about a couple of superheroes that all got their powers, and yeah, it's All Superheroes Must Die. That's all I can say. I don't know about a good way to describe this movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember loving it to the point where I was like, I need this on DVD. I have to have it. And so I bought it. Next up, guys, we have Walking Tall. Yeah, The Rock, Walking Tall. Look how small he is. Look how small The Rock is. Now he's huge. Something happened. And I don't think it was just workout. Next up, we have Sin City. I don't really know why I own this. It's not a good movie. I'm not a huge fan. I really didn't like part 2. But yeah, I don't know. Bruce Willis is in this. Sin City. The Nice Guys. This is a good movie. Russell Crowe, Ryan Gosling, The Nice Guys. They're both private detectives, and he's more of an enforcer. He's more of the private eye. And what's his name shows up in this? Cillian Murphy. And anything he shows up in is awesome. True story. Alright, next up, guys. This is another comedy that I watch all the time, and I don't care. And it is Mean Girls. It's awesome. You can't sit with us. It's like one of my favorite lines ever. I love that. Next up's a comedy. Comedy, I guess. Coming of age. More like it. A little bit of both. Project X. Shaky cam all the way. Again, we have Blair Witch Project to thank for that. But yeah, Project X, man. It's about a teenager whose parents leave and they're like, hey, you may have 3 or 4 friends. Nobody else. No, you know, strict bedtime, everything. And they just have this wild party and things go crazy. It's a good time. Next up, guys, we have the movie 7. Ooh, what's in the box, right? These 2 guys, Morgan Freeman, Brad Pitt, Kevin Spacey's in this movie as well. It's so good. It's a great murder mystery. It's a great psychological thriller, and ooh, that way the movie ends, unpredictable. Just unpredictable. Alright, next up, guys, we have the movie The Holiday. I've never actually watched it all the way through because every time I turn it on, I hate it. Alright, next up we have Jingle All the Way. Yeah, I know it's not a very good movie, but I love it. The Turbo Man, and then you've got, what's his name? Dad is in this, and he plays the mail carrier, and he's like, oh, this is a bomb. And then it actually is a bomb. He's like, this is a sick world, sick place we live in. I love it. And finally, guys, we have the movie Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead stars Simon Pegg. It's a zombie movie about what would happen if a zombie outbreak happened in England. It's okay. Oh, I dropped it. It's an okay movie. I enjoy it. I like Hot Fuzz a little better. It's got the same duo in it. I think it's just a better movie. That's in that stack of DVDs that we haven't talked about yet. But for now, guys, that's how I'm going to end part 1 of my DVD collection. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you want to share this video with your friends, make sure you do that by hitting the share button. If you have any thoughts, comments, or suggestions about all the DVDs that were talked about in this video, go ahead and put those in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at part 2, which should be posted relatively soon.